r/TrueOffMyChest stranger drained my college fund at Thanksgiving, so I destroyed them. My Aunt Lisa's fork clattered against her dinner plate as I held up the bank statement, and for the first time in my life, I watched her face drain of all color. $40,000, Lisa. Every single penny. My voice cut through the Thanksgiving chatter like a blade, and suddenly the entire dining room fell silent. Grandma Ruth's mashed potatoes hung suspended on her spoon. Uncle Mike's beer bottle froze halfway to his lips. Even my cousin Emma, Lisa's precious princess, stopped mid-sentence about her honeymoon in Bali. The bank statement trembled in my hands, but my voice stayed steady. Want to explain to everyone where my parents' college fund went? Lisa recovered quickly, that practiced smile sliding back into place like a mask. Sweetheart, we should discuss this privately. No. I slammed the paper down next to the turkey. We're discussing it right here, right now. Because apparently, while I've been eating ramen noodles for dinner and working double shifts at the campus bookstore, you've been living it up on my dead parents' money. The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. I could hear Aunt Carol's sharp intake of breath from across the table. Grandma Ruth set down her spoon with shaking hands. That money was supposed to get me through college, I continued, my voice getting stronger with each word. It was literally the only thing Mom and Dad left me. And you, my own family, the person they trusted to take care of me, you stole it. Lisa's eyes hardened. The fake concern vanished, replaced by something cold and calculating that I'd never seen before. I didn't steal anything. I was your guardian for 3 years after they died. Do you have any idea what that cost me? The time, the energy, the disruption to my life. My stomach dropped. Are you seriously? I fed you, housed you, dealt with your teenage drama. She picked up her wine glass with steady hands, taking a deliberate sip. That money was compensation for everything I sacrificed. You should be grateful. The room exploded. Uncle Mike started shouting. Grandma Ruth burst into tears. But I just stood there, frozen, watching this woman, this person I'd lived with, trusted, called family for 3 years, justify destroying my entire future like she was discussing the weather. Grateful. The word came out as a whisper, but somehow everyone heard it. I was 17 when they died. You were supposed to protect what they left for me, not spend it on Emma's wedding dress and your kitchen renovation. Emma's face went scarlet. The wedding money came from my college fund. I turned on her, fury finally breaking through the shock. That Vera Wang dress you couldn't stop posting about. My tuition money. The ice sculpture that lasted 2 hours. My textbook fund. The chocolate fountain. My meal plan. Lisa slammed her glass down, wine sloshing across the white tablecloth like blood. You ungrateful little. Stop. Grandma Ruth's voice cut through the chaos, quiet but commanding. Lisa Marie Thompson, what have you done? I looked around the table at my family, some horrified, some confused, all of them finally seeing what I discovered 3 days ago when the college financial aid office called. My spring semester payment was overdue. The account that was supposed to have enough money to get me through graduation was empty. Completely, utterly empty. I trusted you, I whispered, looking directly at Lisa. And you destroyed me. Lisa stood up so abruptly her chair toppled backward, the crash echoing through the dining room like a gunshot. You want to talk about trust? Your parents stuck me with a traumatized teenager when I had my own family to worry about. I never asked for that responsibility. But you took it anyway. The words ripped from my throat. You signed the papers. You became my guardian and the trustee of that fund. You promised them. Your parents are dead. Lisa's voice turned vicious. They're not here to see how you turned out, are they? Barely scraping by with a 2.8 GPA, working some dead-end campus job, probably won't even graduate anyway. At least I put that money to good use. The slap of her words hit harder than any physical blow. I felt something fundamental crack inside my chest, not just my heart, but the last thread of hope I'd been clinging to that this was somehow a misunderstanding. Lisa, that's enough. Uncle Mike rose from his seat, his face flushed with anger. What you did was theft. Plain and simple. Oh, please. Lisa's laugh was sharp and brittle. I have every receipt. Legal guardianship expenses, housing costs, food, clothing, it's all documented. I kept that kid from ending up in foster care, and this is the thanks I get. Those expenses don't add up to $40,000, I said, pulling out my phone with shaking hands. I did the math. 3 years of groceries, clothes, school supplies, maybe 8,000, tops. Where's the other 32,000, Lisa? Her silence was answer enough. Grandma Ruth's chair scraped against the floor as she struggled to stand, her arthritic hands gripping the table edge. Show me the paperwork. Show me what gave you the right to touch 1 penny of that money beyond actual expenses. I don't have to justify anything to. Show her the paperwork. Uncle Mike's roar silenced the room. Lisa's composure finally cracked. The money is gone, okay? It's spent. Done. And unless you want me to start charging retroactive rent for the bedroom you used for 3 years, I suggest you drop this right now. Emma, who'd been silent through most of the confrontation, suddenly spoke up. Mom, you said Dad's promotion paid for the wedding. Emma, be quiet. But you just said, Emma's voice grew smaller. Did you really use college money for my wedding? The horror dawning on my cousin's face would have been satisfying if I weren't so devastated. Lisa looked between us, trapped. I did what I had to do, she said finally. And legally, I was within my rights. Good luck proving otherwise. That's when I knew. She'd planned this. Maybe not from the beginning, but at some point, she'd made a calculated decision to steal my future. And she thought she'd gotten away with it. You know what's funny, Lisa? I picked up my phone again, my fingers surprisingly steady as I scrolled through my contacts. I called a lawyer yesterday. Turns out, what you did isn't just morally wrong, it's criminally wrong. Breach of fiduciary duty, misappropriation of trust funds, fraud. Her face went white again. I also called the state attorney general's office this morning. They're very interested in cases involving abuse of guardianship. I hit a number and put the phone to my ear as it began to ring. Hi, Detective Morrison. This is Sarah Chin. We spoke yesterday about filing charges against my former guardian for trust fund theft. I'm ready to come in and make that formal statement. The detective's voice crackled through my phone speaker, and I watched Lisa's face transform from defiant to panicked in real time. Miss Chin, are you safe? Do you need us to send an officer to your location? I'm fine, detective. I'm with family right now, but the perpetrator is present. I have witnesses to her admission of guilt. I kept my eyes locked on Lisa as she frantically shook her head, mouthing no over and over. We'll need you to come in tomorrow morning to file the formal complaint. Bring any documentation you have, bank statements, trust documents, correspondence with the guardian. Already copied and organized. See you at 9 a.m. I ended the call and set my phone down gently next to my untouched plate. $40,000, Lisa. That's felony theft in this state. Lisa lunged forward, reaching for my phone, but Uncle Mike blocked her path. Are you insane? You'll destroy our entire family over money. I'll destroy US. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Lisa, you literally told me 10 minutes ago that my parents are dead and I'm worthless. You spent my inheritance on your daughter's party. What family are you talking about? Emma buried her face in her hands. Oh God, the reception alone was $15,000. The flowers were $3,000. Mom, what did you do? I provided for my family, Lisa snapped, but her voice was shaking now. Sarah lived in my house, ate my food. For which she legally could have charged basic living expenses, Aunt Carol interrupted, surprising everyone. She'd been so quiet I'd forgotten she was there. I'm a paralegal, Lisa. I know how guardianship works. You were supposed to submit annual accountings to the probate court. Did you? The color drained from Lisa's face completely. Those reports are public record, Carol continued relentlessly. Which means if Sarah requests them and they show false expense claims. She whistled low. That's perjury on top of theft. You people are unbelievable, Lisa said, but her voice cracked. Sarah, if you go through with this, I'll lose my job. My house. Everything. You mean like I'm about to lose my education? My future? My parents' final gift to me? I stood up, my legs somehow steady despite feeling like my entire world was collapsing. Did you think about that when you were writing checks for Emma's dress fitting? Grandma Ruth's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Lisa, how much is left? Grandma. How much is left in Sarah's account right now? Lisa's silence stretched for 30 seconds. Finally, $247. The number hit the room like a bomb. Emma started crying. Uncle Mike cursed under his breath. Grandma Ruth closed her eyes and seemed to age 10 years in that moment. My spring tuition alone is $12,000, I said quietly. Plus housing, meal plan, books. I'm looking at $26,000 just to finish this year. We'll figure something out, Uncle Mike said quickly. Student loans, payment plans. With what cosigner? I turned to him, feeling hollow. Lisa was my guardian. My credit is tied to hers. And even if I could get loans, I'd graduate with crushing debt instead of debt-free like my parents planned. Lisa seemed to realize the magnitude of what she'd done was finally sinking in for everyone else. Her defiance crumbled into desperation. Sarah, please. We can work this out privately. I'll figure out how to pay you back. Set up a payment plan. Just don't involve the police. A payment plan? I pulled out my calculator app. $40,000 plus 3 years of interest. Even if you paid me $500 a month, it would take you 7 years. I need that money now, Lisa. For school. Like my parents intended. I don't have it, she screamed, and there it was, the truth finally clawed its way out. It's gone. The wedding, the kitchen, Emma's car, the vacation, it's all spent. Emma looked up from her hands, mascara streaked down her cheeks. My car. You bought my car with college money. The BMW. I remembered being so confused when 18-year-old Emma got a brand new BMW for graduation. Now I knew exactly where those monthly payments were coming from. My parents' love. Their sacrifice. Their dreams for my future. All of it, gone. I stared at Lisa across the wreckage of Thanksgiving dinner, watching her desperation grow as the reality of her situation finally hit. But I wasn't done. Not even close. You know what the worst part is? I pulled out a manila folder I'd been carrying in my bag. I actually came here today hoping you'd have an explanation. Maybe the money was temporarily moved, or there was some emergency I didn't know about. I opened the folder and spread its contents across the table like a dealer laying out cards. Bank statements, credit card receipts, invoices, months of detective work laid bare. But then I found these. I picked up a credit card statement from last March. Nordstrom, $1,500. The same day Emma posted about her surprise shopping spree on Instagram. I grabbed another receipt. Williams Sonoma, $3,000. Right after you redid your kitchen. Lisa's eyes darted between the papers, her face growing paler with each document. And this one's my favorite. I held up a bank transfer record. $10,000 moved from my trust fund to your personal account on February 14th. Want to guess what Emma posted that day? Emma's voice was barely a whisper. The Bali deposits. Bingo. I smiled, but it felt like broken glass. Happy Valentine's Day to me, right? While I was donating plasma to afford groceries, you were booking first-class flights to Indonesia with my inheritance. Sarah, you don't understand the pressure I was under, Lisa said, reaching across the table toward me. Emma's wedding, your uncle's expectations. My uncle's expectations. I turned to look at a very confused Uncle David, Emma's father, who'd been silent through most of this nuclear explosion. David, did you know where the wedding money was really coming from? I asked. The look on his face was answer enough. Lisa, you told me your parents left you that inheritance when your mom died last year. They did. I had to borrow from Sarah's account temporarily. Temporarily. I laughed, and the sound was ugly even to my own ears. David, your wife has been systematically looting my trust fund for 2 years. The inheritance from her parents. That was real, but it went straight to paying off the credit card she maxed out on Emma's sweet 16 party. I pulled out another statement. Remember that party, Emma? The rented mansion, the DJ, the professional photographer. Guess who really paid for your Princess Day? Emma was sobbing now, but I couldn't stop. Every document I revealed felt like reclaiming a piece of my stolen future. And here's the beautiful part, I continued, my voice getting steadier as Lisa's world crumbled. Lisa's been filing those required guardian reports with the court every year, just like she was supposed to. Except she's been lying in them. Claiming expenses that never happened, inflating legitimate costs, hiding the transfers. Aunt Carol leaned forward. Sarah, those false reports are perjury. Each one. I pulled out copies of the court filings. 3 years of fraudulent reports. That's 3 separate felony counts. Uncle Mike slammed his fist on the table, making the dishes jump. Lisa, how could you be so stupid? These aren't just family problems anymore. You've committed crimes that have paper trails. I was going to pay it back. Lisa's voice cracked with desperation. David got passed over for that promotion, and Emma's wedding costs spiraled, and the house needed repairs. So you decided my future was worth less than your convenience, I finished. And you know what really kills me? If you'd just asked, if you'd been honest about needing help, maybe we could have worked something out. But you didn't ask. You stole. And then you looked me in the eye for 2 years and lied. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Grandma Ruth spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. Sarah, what happens now? I looked around the table at my family, what was left of it, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Now Lisa learns what consequences feel like. The drive back to campus was the longest 2 hours of my life. My phone had been buzzing nonstop since I left Grandma Ruth's house, but I ignored every call, every text. I needed silence to process what had just happened. But when I pulled into my dorm parking lot at 9 p.m., Detective Morrison was waiting by my car. Miss Chin. He stepped forward as I got out, his badge catching the streetlight. I tried calling. We need to talk. My stomach dropped. Did something happen? Did Lisa? She showed up at the station an hour ago with a lawyer. He handed me his card. She's claiming you've been extorting her, threatening to file false charges unless she pays you money she doesn't legally owe. I stared at him, my mouth opening and closing like a fish. That's completely insane. I have bank statements, court documents. I know. But her attorney is good. Really good. The kind of lawyer that costs serious money. Detective Morrison studied my face. Makes me wonder where she got the funds to hire him so quickly. The implications hit me like a truck. She's liquidating something. Maybe taking out loans against the house, or... My eyes widened. Oh God, she's destroying evidence. That's what I'm worried about. Her lawyer filed an emergency motion claiming you're an unstable young adult making false accusations against your loving guardian. They're painting you as someone who's angry about normal guardian expenses and trying to weaponize the legal system. I leaned against my car, feeling dizzy. But the money is gone. The bank statements don't lie. Bank statements show money was spent, not that it was stolen. Her lawyer is claiming every expense was legitimate guardian costs or loans you agreed to that she's not legally required to repay. Detective Morrison's expression was grim. Without documentation proving those expenses were fraudulent, this becomes a civil matter, not criminal. What about the court reports? The ones where she lied about expenses? That's our strongest angle, but we need the original documents from the probate court. And here's the problem, her lawyer just filed a motion to seal your guardianship records, claiming they contain sensitive information about a minor that could cause psychological harm if made public. I felt the walls closing in around me. So she's using the legal system to hide her own crimes. Smart lawyers know how to work the system. And Ms. Chen, I have to ask, do you have the money for an attorney? Because you're going to need one. The question hit like a slap. The irony was so bitter I almost laughed. The money I'd used to hire a lawyer. She stole it. Detective Morrison nodded sympathetically. Legal aid might help, but their family law attorneys are overworked. This kind of complex financial case. He trailed off, but I understood. I was outgunned. There's something else. He glanced around the empty parking lot. Her lawyer reached out to your university. They're claiming you've been making threats against your guardian and might be mentally unstable due to academic pressure. He suggested the school might want to consider requiring a psychological evaluation. My blood turned to ice. They're trying to get me kicked out of school. Or at least suspended pending evaluation. If they can paint you as mentally unstable, it undermines your credibility in any legal proceeding. I stared at the detective, realizing Lisa hadn't just stolen my money, she was systematically destroying any path I had to get it back. Every door I tried to open, she was slamming shut with expensive legal maneuvers I couldn't afford to counter. What do I do? The words came out smaller than I intended. Detective Morrison handed me another card. Get a lawyer. Tonight if possible. Because whatever you're planning to do next, you better do it fast. I sat in my dorm room at midnight, staring at the business cards Detective Morrison had given me. Every lawyer I'd called wanted a $5,000 retainer just to review my case. The legal aid office wouldn't return my calls until Monday, and Lisa's attorney had already filed 3 more motions, including one to freeze any assets connected to my parents' estate, pending investigation of fraudulent claims. She was playing chess while I was barely managing checkers. My roommate Jess found me hunched over my laptop at 2 a.m., surrounded by empty energy drink cans and printouts. Sarah. You look terrible. What's going on? I couldn't even look at her. Remember how I said my aunt was managing my college fund? Yeah, the one who's been helping you out since your parents died. She stole it. All of it. And now she's hired some expensive lawyer to make it look like I'm the problem. Jess sat down on her bed, processing this. Holy shit. What are you going to do? That's when it hit me. Lisa thought she'd covered all her bases, legal, financial, even trying to undermine my credibility. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd forgotten that I'd lived in her house for 3 years. I knew all her secrets. I opened a new browser window and started typing. Sarah, what are you doing? Something I should have done years ago. I pulled up Emma's Instagram account, screenshot after screenshot of expensive purchases, luxury vacations, designer clothes, all timestamped and geotagged. Then I cross-referenced each post with the bank transfers from my trust account. February 14th, Bali here we come. Hashtag blessed, hashtag first class, $10,000 transfer. March 22nd, Nordstrom Hall. Mom is the best. Hashtag spoiled, hashtag designer, $1,500 transfer. June 8th, new BMW. Graduation present from the best parents ever. $800 monthly payment starting that exact day. But that wasn't enough. I needed something that would cut deeper than financial records. I logged into Emma's TikTok account. She'd given me her password years ago when she wanted me to help her edit videos. She'd never changed it. What I found there made my stomach turn. Video after video of Emma flaunting her lifestyle, but with a cruel twist. In one video from last month, she'd actually joked about how some people work at dead-end campus jobs while others have family who really care about them. The comments were full of her friends laughing about broke college kids and people who don't have real support systems. She'd been mocking me while spending my inheritance. But the worst was a video from Emma's wedding day, one she'd posted to her private story, thinking only her close friends would see it. She was drunk, giggling in her Vera Wang dress, saying, "You guys, I have to tell you the funniest thing. This dress. It's technically paid for by my cousin who lives in the dorms and eats ramen every day. Mom moved some money around from Sarah's college fund, but she's probably not even going to graduate anyway, so." The video cut off with Emma and her bridesmaids laughing. My hands were shaking as I downloaded the video. She'd confessed. On camera. While wearing the dress my money bought. I spent the next hour methodically documenting everything. Every social media post, every expense, every cruel joke at my expense. But I wasn't just collecting evidence for Detective Morrison. I was building something bigger. At 3:47 a.m., I created a new Instagram account at Stolen Dreams Exposed. Then I made a TikTok at Justice for Sarah. Twitter at Trust Fund Theft. By sunrise, I had everything ready. Bank statements, social media screenshots, court documents, receipts, all organized into a devastating timeline that told the complete story of how my aunt and cousin had systematically stolen my future while mocking me behind my back. Lisa wanted to play dirty. Fine. But she'd forgotten the first rule of social media: the internet never forgets, and it loves taking down entitled people who hurt others. I hovered my finger over the post button on all 3 platforms simultaneously. Time to show Lisa what real consequences looked like. The first post went live at 6 a.m. sharp. I'd crafted it carefully, a split-screen image showing my latest bank statement with its devastating $247 balance next to Emma's wedding photos. The caption was simple: my inheritance versus what it actually paid for. Swipe for the full story. Within an hour, it had 50 shares. By 8 a.m., it was at 500. My phone started buzzing around 9 a.m., not with the usual spam calls, but with local numbers I didn't recognize. The third one I answered. Sarah. This is Janet Morrison from Channel 7 News. We saw your social media posts about trust fund theft. Would you be willing to do an on-camera interview? I nearly dropped the phone. What? Your story is exactly the kind of guardian abuse case we've been investigating. We'd love to help you tell it properly. Before I could respond, my phone beeped with another call. Then another. By noon, I had interview requests from 3 local news stations, 2 newspapers, and something called the Guardian Accountability Project, apparently a nonprofit that specialized in exposing trustee fraud. But the real explosion happened when Emma found the posts. My phone rang at 12:47 p.m., Emma's contact photo lighting up my screen. I let it go to voicemail. Then she called again. And again. Finally, I answered. Sarah, what the fuck is wrong with you? She was screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Take those posts down right now. Why? Everything in them is true. My friends are seeing this. My co-workers. Do you have any idea what you've done to my reputation? The hypocrisy was breathtaking. Your reputation. Emma, you literally filmed yourself bragging about spending my college money. That was private. You had no right to. Private? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You posted it on social media. There's no expectation of privacy when you broadcast your crimes to the internet. I'm calling the police. This is harassment. Please do. I'm sure they'd love to see that video of you confessing to financial fraud. The line went dead. 20 minutes later, my phone rang again. This time it was a number I recognized, Lisa's work. Ms. Chen. This is Bradley Williams, Human Resources Director at Pinnacle Financial Services. I'm calling regarding some very serious allegations that have come to our attention. My heart pounded. Allegations? Social media posts claiming one of our employees has committed financial crimes. We take these matters extremely seriously, especially given that Lisa Thompson handles client trust accounts in her position here. I hadn't even thought about Lisa's job. She worked at an investment firm, managing other people's money. If her clients found out she'd stolen from her own family. Everything in those posts is documented, Mr. Williams. I have bank statements, court records. We'll need copies of everything. Our compliance department is conducting an immediate investigation. Ms. Thompson has been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome. After I hung up, I sat in stunned silence. I'd expected the social media posts to embarrass Lisa, maybe pressure her into paying me back. I hadn't anticipated that her entire livelihood would be on the line within 6 hours. But apparently, the internet had other plans. By 2 p.m., hashtag trust fund theft was trending locally. People were sharing their own stories of guardian abuse in the comments. Someone had found Lisa's LinkedIn profile and posted the link. Her employer's Yelp reviews were suddenly flooded with comments about hiring financial criminals. Then my laptop chimed with a direct message that made my blood run cold. It was from a law firm. The same one representing Lisa. Ms. Chen, cease and desist all social media activity immediately or face defamation charges. You have 1 hour to comply. I stared at the message, realizing I might have just made the biggest mistake of my life. My hands were trembling as I screenshot the cease and desist message. 1 hour. They were giving me 1 hour to delete everything I'd spent all night building, or face defamation charges I definitely couldn't afford to fight. I called Detective Morrison immediately. They can't do this, right? Everything I posted is true. I have documentation. Sarah, slow down. His voice was grim. Truth is a defense against defamation, but you still have to prove it in court. And right now, you're fighting a war on multiple fronts without any legal backup. My laptop chimed again. Another message from the law firm, this time with an attachment. A temporary restraining order, filed 20 minutes ago, requesting that I be prohibited from further harassment and defamation of the Thompson family via social media or any other means. Detective, they just filed for a restraining order. Jesus. Sarah, you need to get to that legal aid office right now. Don't wait until Monday. I was already grabbing my keys when my phone rang. Unknown number. Sarah. This is Michelle Rodriguez from the Guardian Accountability Project. We've been following your story online. Look, if this is about an interview, I might not be able to. It's not about an interview. We want to represent you. Pro bono. I stopped dead in the hallway. What? We're a nonprofit law firm specializing in trustee abuse cases. What happened to you is exactly why we exist. We've already reviewed your social media posts, and frankly, your aunt picked the wrong victim to mess with. But her lawyer filed a restraining order. And a cease and desist. I don't think I can even. Don't delete anything yet. We're filing an emergency motion to intervene. Your posts constitute protected speech about matters of public concern, guardian abuse, specifically. The restraining order won't hold. For the first time in days, I felt like I could breathe. Are you serious? You'll actually help me? Sarah, we've been tracking Lisa Thompson since yesterday. She's not just a trustee who made bad decisions. She's done this before. My blood went cold. What do you mean? She was a co-trustee on her elderly neighbor's estate 3 years ago, before she became your guardian. That account showed similar unexplained withdrawals. The family settled out of court, but the patterns match exactly what she did to you. I sank onto my dorm room bed, the implications hitting me like a freight train. She's a serial thief. And now she's made a critical error. By filing for that restraining order, she's officially made this a legal matter. Which means discovery. Which means we get to subpoena every bank record, every court filing, every email between her and her lawyer. My laptop chimed again, but this time it wasn't a threat. It was a Facebook message from someone named Marcus Webb. Sarah, saw your story online. My grandmother's estate was managed by Lisa Thompson in 2019. Similar things happened. Would love to talk. Then another message. And another. Michelle, I said, my voice getting steadier, I think you're going to want to see this. Within 30 minutes, I had messages from 7 different people, all with stories about Lisa's financial mismanagement. An elderly man whose late wife's jewelry had mysteriously disappeared from her estate. A woman whose brother's disability trust fund had been depleted for administrative costs. A family whose father's life insurance settlement had somehow shrunk by $15,000 while Lisa was handling the probate. Michelle's voice was electric when I called her back. Sarah, do you understand what you've just uncovered? This isn't one crime. This is a pattern of predatory behavior spanning years. But what about the restraining order? The cease and desist? Forget them. By tomorrow morning, we'll have enough evidence to file federal charges. Wire fraud, mail fraud, conspiracy, this just became a whole different kind of case. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, this isn't over. You have no idea what you've started. L. I screenshot the message and sent it to Michelle immediately. Actually, I texted back, I think I'm just getting started. The emergency hearing was scheduled for 9 a.m. the next morning, but at 7:30 a.m., my phone exploded with a call that changed everything. Sarah, this is Michelle. We have a problem. I was already dressed and halfway to the courthouse when her words made me stop dead on the sidewalk. What kind of problem? Lisa's lawyer just filed an emergency motion claiming you've been cyberstalking Emma and accessing her social media accounts without permission. They're saying the TikTok video you posted came from illegal hacking. My stomach dropped. But she gave me her password years ago. Can you prove that? In writing? Because they're claiming you broke into her accounts to steal private content, which makes this a potential criminal matter against you. I leaned against a lamppost, feeling dizzy. The TikTok video of Emma confessing about my dress money was the strongest piece of evidence I had, and now they were turning it into a weapon against me. There's more, Michelle continued. Someone called the university last night claiming to be a concerned family member. They reported that you've been making threatening phone calls and might be having a psychological breakdown due to academic stress. That's insane. I hadn't called anyone except, I stopped, remembering Emma's frantic calls yesterday that I'd mostly ignored. Oh God, they recorded our phone conversation, didn't they? When Emma called me screaming. Probably. And they're going to play clips out of context to make you sound unstable. I reached the courthouse steps, but instead of feeling empowered, I felt like I was walking into an ambush. Every move I'd made to expose Lisa was somehow being twisted into evidence that I was the real problem. Michelle, what if we lose this hearing? What if the judge believes them? Then we pivot. Sarah, I need you to listen carefully. When we get in there, Lisa's lawyer is going to try to paint you as an obsessed, mentally unstable young woman who's been stalking his client's family online and making false accusations to cover up your own academic failures. But that's not. I know. But he's good at his job, and he's had all night to craft a narrative. They're going to argue that you accessed Emma's private accounts illegally, that you've been harassing them across multiple platforms, and that your own poor grades prove you would have lost the college money anyway due to academic probation. My throat went dry. Academic probation? You said your GPA was 2.8, right? Lisa's lawyer dug up your transcript. Apparently, you're one failed class away from losing financial aid eligibility. They're going to argue that Lisa actually saved the college money from being wasted on a student who was going to flunk out anyway. The cruelty of it took my breath away. I was struggling academically because I'd been working 2 jobs to afford basic necessities while Lisa spent my inheritance on luxury items. But her lawyer was going to make it sound like I was just a bad student looking for someone else to blame. There's something else, Michelle said quietly. 3 of the families who contacted you yesterday. Their messages have disappeared. Someone convinced them to retract their statements. I felt the last piece of solid ground crumble beneath my feet. How is that possible? Money talks. Lisa might not have your $40,000 anymore, but she clearly has access to enough cash to make problems disappear. The question is, where is she getting it? As I climbed the courthouse steps, that question echoed in my mind. Where was Lisa suddenly finding money for expensive lawyers, payoffs, and damage control? Unless she wasn't done stealing. Unless there were other victims she was robbing right now to fund her defense against me. The thought made me sick, but it also made me angry. Really, truly angry for the first time since this whole nightmare started. Lisa thought she could bury me in legal paperwork and intimidation tactics. But if she was still actively stealing from people to cover up her crimes against me, then this wasn't just about my college fund anymore. This was about stopping her before she destroyed anyone else. The courtroom was smaller than I'd imagined, but Lisa's lawyer commanded it like he owned the place. Richard Blackwood, I'd looked him up online, specialized in crisis management for high-net-worth individuals. Translation, he made rich people's problems disappear. Your Honor, Blackwood began, his voice smooth as silk, we're dealing with a deeply troubled young woman who has weaponized social media to destroy my client's reputation based on fundamental misunderstandings about guardianship finances. I watched Judge Harrison's face as Blackwood painted his picture. Middle-aged, tired-looking, probably seeing his 100th family dispute this month. The kind of judge who wanted quick resolutions, not complicated financial investigations. MS. Chen has accessed private social media accounts without authorization, posted selectively edited content to inflame public opinion, and engaged in what can only be described as cyberstalking. Blackwood clicked his remote, and a PowerPoint slide appeared showing my posts with angry comments highlighted. The harassment has become so severe that my client's daughter has received death threats from strangers online. My blood went cold. Death threats? I glanced at Michelle, who looked equally shocked. Furthermore, Blackwood continued, Ms. Chen's own academic record shows a pattern of poor decision-making and declining performance. Her GPA has dropped consistently over 3 semesters, and she's currently failing 2 courses required for graduation. Judge Harrison looked at me over his glasses. Ms. Chen, is that accurate? I stood up shakily. Your Honor, I'm struggling academically because I've been working 40 hours a week just to afford food while my guardian spent my college fund on. Alleged spent, Blackwood interrupted. My client has detailed receipts for every guardianship expense, all properly documented and filed with the court as required by law. Michelle stood. Your Honor, we'd like to examine those receipts. Our preliminary investigation suggests significant discrepancies between reported expenses and actual guardianship costs. Which brings us to the real issue here, Blackwood said smoothly. Ms. Rodriguez represents an organization with a documented bias against trustees and guardians. They make money by manufacturing outrage and filing frivolous lawsuits against grieving families trying to do their best in difficult circumstances. I felt sick. Every word was technically defensible, but the overall picture he was painting made me look like a delusional stalker being manipulated by ambulance-chasing lawyers. Then Blackwood played his ace card. Your Honor, I'd like to present a recording of Ms. Chen threatening my client's daughter yesterday afternoon. The speakers crackled to life, and Emma's voice filled the courtroom. Sarah, what the fuck is wrong with you? Take those posts down right now. Then my voice, why? Everything in them is true. My friends are seeing this. My co-workers. Do you have any idea what you've done to my reputation? And then my laugh, cold, bitter, completely devoid of empathy, your reputation. Emma, you literally filmed yourself bragging about spending my college money. Played without context, I sounded cruel. Calculated. Like someone who took pleasure in destroying a family member's life. Judge Harrison's expression shifted, and I knew we were losing. Your Honor, Michelle said desperately, this conversation occurred after Ms. Chen discovered video evidence of. Allegedly discovered, Blackwood corrected. Through unauthorized access to private social media accounts. Which, I might add, constitutes a violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. My phone buzzed silently in my pocket. A text message that I couldn't check but somehow knew would be important. Ms. Rodriguez, Judge Harrison said, while I appreciate your client's frustration with her financial situation, this court cannot ignore evidence of cyberstalking and harassment. I'm inclined to grant a temporary restraining order pending a full investigation. Michelle shot to her feet. Your Honor, respectfully, that would prevent Ms. Chen from pursuing legitimate legal remedies for documented financial abuse. The documentation appears to be obtained through questionable means, the judge replied. Mr. Blackwood, draft your order. Ms. Chen, you are prohibited from any direct or indirect contact with the Thompson family, and all social media posts regarding this matter must be removed within 24 hours. The gavel came down like a gunshot. As we filed out of the courtroom, I finally checked my phone. The text was from Detective Morrison, emergency. Call me immediately. We found something. Standing in the courthouse hallway, watching Lisa hug her expensive lawyer in victory, I dialed the detective's number with shaking hands. Sarah, where are you right now? The courthouse. We just lost the hearing. The judge granted the restraining order. Forget the restraining order. We just executed a search warrant on Lisa's house. You need to get down here right now. Why? What did you find? Evidence that she's been stealing from at least 12 different families. And Sarah? His voice was grim. Some of the victims are still active. She's been robbing people this week to pay for her legal defense. I looked back through the courthouse window at Lisa, who was shaking hands with Blackwood, probably discussing their next move to destroy my credibility. She had no idea that her world was about to end. I hung up with Detective Morrison and watched through the courthouse window as Lisa handed Blackwood what looked like a thick envelope. Cash. She was paying her lawyer in cash while claiming she had no money to repay my stolen college fund. Michelle, we need to go. Now. But as we pushed through the courthouse doors, my phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize, but the area code was local. Miss Chen. This is Patricia Williams. I'm calling about your social media posts regarding Lisa Thompson. I stopped walking. I'm sorry, but I'm not allowed to discuss. She's my mother's financial conservator, the woman interrupted, her voice shaking. I've been trying to reach my mom all week, but Lisa keeps saying she's too sick for visitors. But after seeing your posts, I went to the nursing home anyway. My blood turned to ice. What did you find? My mother's room is empty. Lisa moved her to a different facility 3 days ago without telling me. The staff said she claimed there were family complications and that visits needed to be restricted. I grabbed Michelle's arm. Patricia, what's your mother's name? Helen Williams. Lisa's been managing her finances since my dad died last year. But the nursing home bill hasn't been paid in 2 months, and when I asked Lisa about it, she said Medicare was handling everything. Michelle was already pulling out her phone, typing frantically. Sarah, this is happening right now. While we were in court arguing about your social media posts, Lisa was actively moving assets around. Patricia, have you called the police? I tried, but they said it's a civil matter since Lisa has legal conservatorship. They told me to hire a lawyer. Her voice broke. I can't afford a lawyer. I'm a single mom working 2 jobs. I looked back at the courthouse where Lisa was still celebrating her legal victory, and something cold and calculating settled in my chest. She thought she'd won. She thought intimidating me with restraining orders and legal threats would make me disappear quietly. She had no idea that I'd spent 3 years living in her house, watching her operate, learning her patterns. Patricia, I need you to call Detective Morrison at the county police immediately. I rattled off his number. Tell him you're a victim in an ongoing financial crimes investigation. Use those exact words. But the restraining order, Michelle started. Doesn't apply to helping other victims report crimes, I finished. And I think I know where Lisa's hiding the money. The storage unit facility was 15 minutes from the courthouse. I'd remembered it from when Lisa had rented a unit during their kitchen renovation, supposedly to store furniture. But she'd kept paying for it long after the renovation was done, and she'd always gone alone to check on things. At the time, I'd assumed it was Christmas presents or seasonal decorations. Now I realized it was probably evidence. Sarah, we can't just break into a storage unit, Michelle said as we pulled into the parking lot. That's actually illegal. We're not breaking in. We're meeting Detective Morrison here. I checked my phone. He should be. A police cruiser pulled up beside us, followed by an unmarked sedan. Detective Morrison got out, along with a woman in a suit I didn't recognize. Agent Lisa Chen, FBI Financial Crimes Division, she introduced herself with a grim smile. No relation, despite the name. Detective Morrison filled me in on your situation. The FBI. I couldn't hide my shock. Wire transfers across state lines make this federal jurisdiction. Plus, we've been tracking a pattern of conservatorship fraud in this region for months. Your aunt's name has come up in several investigations. Agent Chen pulled out a tablet, showing me a map dotted with red markers. Each of these represents a suspicious conservatorship or guardianship case in the past 5 years. Lisa Thompson is connected to 11 of them. The scope was staggering. This wasn't just about my college fund or even Patricia Williams' mother. Lisa had built an entire criminal enterprise around exploiting vulnerable people and their families. The storage unit? I asked. Detective Morrison was already walking toward the facility manager's office. We got the warrant 10 minutes ago. Whatever she's hiding in there, we're about to find out. As we followed him through the maze of storage units, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You have no idea what you've started. Some things are better left buried. I showed Agent Chen the message. She didn't look surprised. Ms. Chen, how quickly can you get somewhere safe? Because if I'm right about what we're going to find in that storage unit, your aunt is about to get very desperate. Unit 247 was tucked away in the darkest corner of the storage facility. As Detective Morrison cut the lock, Agent Chen positioned herself between me and the unit entrance. Stay back until we clear it, she warned, but nothing could have prepared me for what spilled out when that metal door rolled up. Boxes. Dozens of them, meticulously labeled with names and dates. Williams Estate 2019 to 2021. Martinez Trust 2020. Peterson Guardianship 2018 to 2022. And there, in neat black marker, Chen Trust 2019 to 2022. My legs nearly gave out. Agent Chen pulled on latex gloves and opened the nearest box. Inside were bank statements, jewelry, stock certificates, even a collection of gold coins. Jesus Christ, Detective Morrison muttered. This is like a trophy room. But it was the laptop in the back corner that made my blood run cold. Agent Chen powered it up, and the desktop was covered with folders labeled by victim names. She clicked on mine. Spreadsheets. Detailed calculations showing exactly how much money Lisa had stolen from me, when she'd taken it, and what she'd spent it on. But worse, there were future projections. Plans to liquidate my remaining $247 and close the account entirely, with a note, Sarah graduates May 2025. Account closure before then prevents post-graduation questions. She was planning to steal the last of it before I even finished school, I whispered. Agent Chen clicked on another folder. Patricia Williams' mother. The spreadsheet showed nursing home payments that had been skipped, medical expenses that were never paid, and a note that made my stomach turn. Patient shows signs of dementia progression. Family contact becoming problematic. Facility transfer necessary. She moved Patricia's mom to hide the fact that she wasn't paying her bills, I said, the pieces falling into place. If the family can't visit, they can't ask questions about the money. Detective Morrison was photographing everything, but Agent Chen had gone rigid beside me. Sarah, look at this. She'd opened a folder labeled Emergency Protocols. Inside was a detailed plan for what to do if any of the families started asking questions. Step 1, discredit the accuser. Step 2, file legal motions to delay investigation. Step 3, liquidate remaining assets and disappear. Step 4, made my blood freeze, if necessary, claim mental health concerns about primary accuser. Medical hold recommended. She was planning to have me committed, I breathed. If the legal stuff didn't work, she was going to claim I was suicidal or dangerous and have me locked up in a psychiatric facility. Agent Chen's phone rang. She answered it, her face growing darker with each word. We have a problem. Lisa Thompson isn't at home. Her neighbors saw her loading suitcases into her car 2 hours ago. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Emma. Sarah, I'm scared. Mom took a bunch of money out of my college fund this morning and won't tell me why. She keeps asking weird questions about your posts. Where are you? I showed the message to Agent Chen. Emma doesn't know, does she? About the other victims? Probably not. But she's about to become collateral damage if Lisa panics. Agent Chen was already coordinating with Detective Morrison. We need to find her before she liquidates whatever accounts she still has access to. That's when I remembered something that made my heart stop. Agent Chen, Patricia said her mother was moved to a different nursing home. What if Lisa has access to other patients' accounts there? What if she's not just running? What if she's cleaning out every vulnerable person she can reach? The look on Agent Chen's face confirmed my worst fears. How many nursing homes has she worked with as a conservator? I asked. Agent Chen was already pulling up files on her tablet. According to our records, 7 facilities across 3 counties. And if she's desperate enough to run, she didn't need to finish. We both knew what desperate people were capable of when cornered. My phone rang. Lisa's number. Answer it, Agent Chen whispered, pulling out recording equipment. Keep her talking. I stared at Lisa's name on my phone screen, my finger hovering over the answer button. Agent Chen nodded grimly, her recording device ready. Hello, Lisa. Sarah. Her voice was strangely calm, almost conversational. I hear you've been having quite the adventure today. My blood chilled. She knew about the storage unit. Somehow, she already knew we'd found everything. Where are you, Lisa? Saying goodbye to some old friends. You know, it's funny, I spent years building relationships in this community, helping families navigate difficult financial situations. And now, because of your little tantrum, all of that good work is being questioned. Agent Chen was frantically typing on her tablet, trying to trace the call. She held up a note, keep her talking. Location services almost locked. Good work. I couldn't keep the disgust out of my voice. Lisa, you stole from vulnerable elderly people. That's not helping, that's predatory. Oh, sweetheart, you still don't understand how the world works, do you? Lisa's laugh was sharp. These people were going to lose their money anyway. Nursing home costs, medical bills, family members who would have blown it on nonsense. At least I put it to productive use. Productive use? You bought Emma a BMW. I invested in my daughter's future. Unlike your parents, who wasted their money on a mediocre student who can barely maintain a 3.0 GPA. The cruelty in her voice was breathtaking, but Agent Chen was making urgent gestures. She'd gotten a location lock. Lisa, just tell me where Emma is. She texted me that she's scared. Whatever you're planning, don't involve her. The silence stretched long enough that I thought she'd hung up. Then, Emma is learning an important lesson about loyalty today. About what happens when family turns against family. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means your little internet crusade has consequences beyond just me, Sarah. Emma's college fund, the legitimate one, from her grandparents, well, let's just say it's currently being redistributed to cover the legal expenses you've forced upon us. Agent Chen grabbed my arm, her eyes wide with alarm. She held up her tablet. GPS shows the call is coming from First National Bank downtown. She's liquidating accounts right now. You're stealing Emma's college money too. I couldn't believe it, even knowing everything else Lisa had done. I'm protecting what's left of this family from the damage you've caused. Emma will understand eventually. Family sacrifices for family, something you clearly never learned. The line went dead. Agent Chen was already on her radio, coordinating with units downtown, but I was thinking about Emma's text. Her fear, her confusion about why her mother was asking strange questions. Lisa wasn't just running, she was burning everything down, including her own daughter's future. Agent Chen, what if Lisa doesn't stop at the bank? If she's really planning to disappear, she'd need more than just liquidated accounts. She'd need... What? What are you thinking? I remembered Lisa's storage unit, all those victim files. But there had been something else, a folder I'd glimpsed but hadn't fully registered. Something labeled, insurance policies. The life insurance policies of her conservatorship clients. What if she's been collecting on policies for people who are still alive? Agent Chen's face went white. Jesus. If she's been filing fraudulent death claims. My phone buzzed with another text from Emma. Mom says we're going on a trip. She's acting really weird and won't let me call anyone. Sarah, I'm sorry about everything. I never knew where the money really came from. The timestamp showed the message was sent 3 minutes ago, but my phone had just received it. Agent Chen, I think Lisa's blocking Emma's phone signal somehow. That text was delayed. Or she's moving Emma somewhere with poor reception. Somewhere isolated. Agent Chen's radio crackled with updates from the bank. Units are at First National. Lisa Thompson's car isn't here, but she was here 20 minutes ago. Withdrew everything from 3 different accounts. I felt sick. Lisa was already ahead of us, and she had Emma with her. Whatever desperate plan she'd put in motion was accelerating faster than we could catch up. That's when I remembered something that made my heart race, not with fear, but with possibility. Agent Chin, I know where she's going. The lake house. Of course it was the lake house. Agent Chin, Lisa has a property about 40 miles north of here. It's where she takes Emma every summer, completely isolated, no cell service for miles. My mind was racing as I pulled up the location on my phone. If she's planning to disappear or do something desperate, that's where she'd go. Agent Chen was already coordinating with Detective Morrison, but I could see the concern in her eyes. Sarah, if she's got Emma there against her will, this becomes a potential hostage situation. We'll need specialized units, negotiators. Which takes time we don't have. I thought about Emma's delayed text, her fear coming through even in those few words. Lisa was unraveling fast, and Emma was caught in the crossfire of her mother's desperation. My phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. Miss Chen. This is Dr. Margaret Santos from Sunset Manor Nursing Home. I understand you've been investigating Lisa Thompson's conservatorship activities. Agent Chen motioned for me to answer. Yes, Dr. Santos. What's happening? She was here an hour ago, claiming she needed to move 3 of her conservatorship patients for emergency medical reasons. But something felt wrong. She was agitated, rushing, and when I asked for the transfer paperwork, she became hostile. My blood turned to ice. Did she move them? She tried. But our head nurse noticed that one of the patients, Helen Williams, had no medical reason for transfer. When we questioned it, Ms. Thompson left abruptly. But Dr. Santos hesitated. She'd already been in our financial office for 20 minutes before coming to see the patients. Agent Chen grabbed the phone. Dr. Santos, this is FBI Agent Chen. We need you to secure all financial records related to Lisa Thompson immediately. Don't let anyone access them, don't release them to anyone. I'm afraid it might be too late for that. Our accountant mentioned that Ms. Thompson had authorization to review patient billing records. She said she needed to verify insurance payments for an audit. I felt sick. Lisa hadn't just been planning to move vulnerable patients, she'd been accessing their financial information, probably looking for more accounts to drain before she disappeared. Dr. Santos, how many patients was she authorized to review records for? I asked. 17. All of her active conservatorship cases. 17 families who might wake up tomorrow to find their loved ones' care funds emptied. 17 more victims of Lisa's desperation to fund her escape. Agent Chen ended the call and immediately got back on her radio. All units, we need forensic accountants at Sunset Manor immediately. Suspect may have accessed multiple victim accounts within the last hour. But I was thinking about Emma, trapped somewhere with a woman who was systematically destroying lives to cover her tracks. Lisa had already shown she was willing to sacrifice her own daughter's college fund. What would she do if she felt completely cornered? Agent Chen, we need to get to that lake house now. Every minute we waste, Lisa gets more desperate. Sarah, I can't take a civilian into a potentially dangerous situation. I'm not asking to go in with you. But I know that property. I spent summers there with Emma when we were kids. I know the layout, the hiding spots, the escape routes. I pulled up satellite images on my phone. Look, there's only one access road, but there are 3 different ways off the property on foot. If Lisa panics and runs, you'll lose her in those woods. Agent Chen studied the images, and I could see her weighing the risks. What aren't you telling me about this place? I hesitated, remembering something I tried to forget. There's a boathouse. With a speedboat. If Lisa gets to the water, she could be across the state line in under an hour. That decided it. Agent Chen was already moving toward her car. You stay in the vehicle at all times. The moment this goes south, you're out of there. As we raced through the countryside toward the lake, my phone buzzed with one more delayed message from Emma. The man on the phone said something about insurance money. Mom keeps talking about starting over somewhere new. I'm scared she's not planning to take me with her. The timestamp was from 15 minutes ago. We might already be too late. The lake house looked peaceful in the late afternoon sun, but Lisa's car parked at an odd angle by the dock told a different story. Agent Chen positioned 3 unmarked cars along the tree line while I crouched behind an SUV, my phone ready to call Emma if needed. Visual on 2 subjects in the main house, came the radio report. Adult female pacing, appears agitated. Younger female sitting at kitchen table, appears distressed. Through binoculars, I could see Emma's silhouette through the window. She was hunched over, head in her hands, while Lisa moved frantically around the room, throwing items into bags. Agent Chen's phone buzzed. It's the bank. She cleaned out 17 different accounts in the past 2 hours, totaling over $200,000. She's not just running, she's funding a permanent disappearance. My stomach clenched. What about Emma? Before Agent Chen could answer, my phone rang. Lisa again. Answer it, Agent Chen whispered, her recording equipment ready. Sarah, I know you're out there. Lisa's voice was different now, frantic, unhinged. I can see the cars in the trees. Very dramatic. I looked through the binoculars and saw her standing at the kitchen window, phone pressed to her ear. Lisa, let Emma go. Whatever you're planning, she doesn't deserve. Deserve? Let me tell you what people deserve. Lisa's voice cracked. I deserved better than becoming a guardian to an ungrateful teenager. I deserved compensation for the years I sacrificed. And Emma deserves a mother who can provide for her future, even if it means starting over somewhere new. Through the window, I watched Emma lift her head, clearly hearing her mother's side of the conversation. Emma has her own life, her own dreams. You can't just uproot her because you got caught stealing. Stealing. Lisa laughed bitterly. I prefer redistributing resources from people who were going to lose them anyway to people who could actually benefit. Those nursing home patients. Half of them don't even remember their own names. At least I put their money to good use. Agent Chen was making hand signals to her team, positioning them closer to the house. But I could see the boat keys dangling from Lisa's free hand through the binoculars. Lisa, the FBI has frozen all the accounts you just emptied. That money's already gone. Running won't change that. The accounts I emptied today. Those were just travel expenses, sweetheart. The real money has been safely offshore for months. Her voice turned cold with satisfaction. Switzerland doesn't ask many questions about American family trust funds. My blood ran cold. This wasn't a desperate last-minute decision. Lisa had been planning her escape for months, systematically looting her victims while preparing to vanish forever. What about Emma's college fund? Her future. Emma will have a better future starting fresh with me than staying here to deal with the mess you've created. I watched Lisa grab Emma's arm, pulling her toward the back door. We're leaving now. And if anyone follows us to the dock, Emma pays the price for your interference. The call ended, and Agent Chen immediately radioed her team. Subjects moving toward the boat. This is now a pursuit situation. But I was already running toward the dock path, ignoring Agent Chen's shouts behind me. I knew something the FBI didn't. The boat had been having engine problems all summer. Emma had complained about it during our last conversation months ago. If I could get to the dock before Lisa figured out the engine wouldn't start. I burst through the tree line just as Lisa was frantically turning the boat key, Emma sitting rigid beside her with tears streaming down her face. The engine's flooded, isn't it? I called out, stepping onto the dock. You always did rush things, Lisa. She spun around, her face a mask of rage and panic. Stay back, Sarah. I swear I'll. You'll what? Hurt Emma? Your own daughter. I took another step forward. The woman who spent $40,000 on Emma's wedding dress. Who bought her a BMW? You love her, Lisa. Twisted as everything else is, that part's real. Emma looked between us, confusion and fear warring on her face. Mom, what is she talking about? What $40,000? For the first time since this nightmare began, Lisa's composure completely crumbled. Emma, sweetheart, I can explain everything once we're. The boat's not going anywhere, Agent Chen's voice rang out from behind me. FBI agents emerged from the tree line, weapons drawn but lowered. Ms. Thompson, step away from your daughter. Lisa looked around wildly, trapped between the agents and a useless boat. Finally, her shoulders sagged in defeat. Emma, she whispered, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to give you everything you deserved. Emma stood up slowly, stepping away from her mother. What I deserved was the truth. As Agent Chen placed handcuffs on Lisa, I felt an unexpected wave of sadness alongside the relief. This woman had destroyed so many lives, stolen so many futures. But watching her led away while Emma sobbed on the dock, I realized Lisa had destroyed herself most of all. 3 months later, I sat in a courtroom as Judge Harrison read Lisa's sentence. 12 years federal prison, full restitution to all victims. The offshore accounts had been frozen and recovered, even more money than anyone realized, funds stolen from dozens of vulnerable families. Emma testified against her mother, a decision that probably saved her from being charged as an accessory. She'd moved in with Grandma Ruth and started community college, using money from a victim compensation fund. As for me, the recovered funds not only paid for the rest of my college education but left me with more than my parents had originally saved. I changed my major to social work with a focus on elder abuse prevention. Because I learned something important from all of this, sometimes the best way to honor what was stolen from you is to make sure it never happens to anyone else. Lisa was right about one thing, consequences have a way of spreading. But sometimes, if you're brave enough to face them head on, those consequences can actually make the world a little bit better. My parents would have been proud of that.